so today we are doing problem 355 medium design Twitter. Design simplified version of Twitter where using can post tweets, follow, unfollow, and is able to see at most 10 most recent tweets in the user's newsfeed. Okay, seems interesting. So we need to implement a class, initializer post tweet, so user with ID tweets, unique tweet ID, okay. List integer, oh my days, that's Java code. Get news feed, so 10 most posted, blah 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 blah. Tweets must be ordered from the most recent to least recent. Also, then that's follow and unfollow. Okay, so I mean, this heavily depends on how many calls we get. Okay, 500 users only. Okay. All tweets have unique ID, so there will be at most 10 to 4 tweets. I mean, we care only about 10. So, and follow, there is up to 500 users. So worst case, you have to go through 500 users. Oof, that's a tough one. I mean, you know, this is 1.5 times 10 to 7. If you just multiply this by this. And, you know, get newsfeed. Or 5 times 10 to 6 because we have to first create this many tweets. So technically that could work. Like we have just yeah, but it's gonna suck because like we store tweets for each person. I mean, it's not great. One thing we can do is just have all of them in a list, and then each time, you know, we just go through the list and skip the ones that are not like we can skip the ones, or we can just we iterate through the list until we find 10 or are at the start of the list, and we skip those that we do not follow, which we can store in like what's that, 500 500, so like a matrix for it to be 01, right? Let's say, I mean, we could just hashmap of hashmap, but let's get real here. Let's abuse this. Why not? So, okay, but that's obviously slow because let's say you get like, you know, let's say a person that nobody follows. Like, let's say we make 10 tweets by person 1, and then we make 10 to 4 minus 10 tweets by another person, and then another 2 times 10 to 4 get newsfeed requests will what? Ask, so there will be like follow to person 1, and then you ask the feed of user that follows user 1, and each time you would iterate through entire thing, which is not great. So for each person we could store a list of people. It follows, and then so we could have a list of people it follows, right? And then which is up to 500 people. And now then, okay, so how would we then iterate over the list in quotation marks? Well, I mean, we could use like a heap of those people, right? And then there would be pair like the least recent like index of tweet of that person. Everyone would start with the last ID or nothing if they wouldn't be put in there. And then each time you pick the one that has the largest like time of the tweet ID, so you'd have like a time of the tweet and then the tweet index, so you can move in tweets by that person, and then you would have that person and you would have a max heap, right? And then you just do this 10 times. Now the problem is that every time you get these requests, you would put 500 people in, and that's a log, so that's like 500 times 9, and then you pop 10 people. So best thing you could do, if you could already pre-build this, I guess. But the problem is then, like, because there is free information like the index, so what I'm thinking is that, you know, we can update this, right? If a person posts a tweet, we would just put it into list of tweets. Now if a person follows, here is what we are gonna do. We will use an ordered set in C++ for the max heap, and good question, because then you have to, yeah, I think this will be the best to when we are here and we make a tweet, we update that person's index and the time of the most recent tweet, right? And this way we only update 500 here, and then we do this in like log number of users times 10, right? And follow we can do in all users. So we do all, this is all users, this is log all users, or this is like number of users log in, right? And this is just log users, and this is 10 log users. So that's quite good, I think. That's not bad. So, okay, we need few variables. Private dot is barking again. Okay, so what are we gonna do? Well, we need to have the set of, let's have vectors, right? And this will be like what do we call it, like timeline for 500 users, right? Is it up to, let's including, oh my days, let's do it this way. And then we have vector int tweets 501, okay. And then finally, what do we want? So post tweet, it's here, and then updates the timelines. New use feed just goes over this, and follow adds or removes thing there. So that's it. We don't need anything else. Okay, so posting a tweet. Let's start with that one. So first thing happens, tweets, user ID, pushback, tweet ID, right? Then, well, we need to update timeline for every one of the users, right? So maybe we could have for each person, because it will be slower, because I could iterate over all users. But I could also iterate just over the users that are following this guy. So set int follows like that, right? And then for follower in no, that's followees, right? So followee in followees of user ID, and then we wanna do the shtick of if it has that guy, we update it. Okay. So first we have to check. So what's the formats of the vector? There is time of, or that's the are the tweet IDs increasing? No. Okay. Int calls is 0. Okay. So here is what we are gonna do. First we'll lower bound. Iterator is equal to timeline of followee lower bound. And now what do we lower bound? Calls That is very interesting, because well, I don't know what the calls is, right? So actually here I need to store pairs, right? So here this is a vector of calls, tweet index, you know what, I'm gonna simplify it. Let's just whatever, let's do it like this. So and then this is like user ID, right? Right here in timeline we will have like tweet ID and then what? Tweet ID and then calls, so that we can get it, and this is just user ID, whatever. So here is what we are doing. Oof, that's tough. Let me check if this guy has tweet. So bool has tweet is equal to tweets user ID empty, and then we do like a not, right? And then if has tweet, we have to delete it. This has to be in because we first deleted it and then we also immediately insert it, right? Okay, so this should be inside of here, right? So let's go calls is tweets user ID, and then like tweets user ID back, and then ref, right? And this is like ref second, then this is like tweets user ID size -1. Oh, that's a wrong order, brother. That's a wrong ass order. Right, and then what's user ID? User ID, right? And no, what am I doing? Just erase whatever, right? So we erased it, and then timeline follow we insert, and now what we are inserting calls calls, then we are inserting tweets and then what? User ID. So what this does is essentially for each followee we want to update his timeline. So first we have to erase the entry. If he has some tweet, then he should have an entry, then we insert it, right? And then we update the user's tweets and update the whatever time, right? Now to get this news feed, that's gonna be tough too, or pain to implement. So here is how it should work. Essentially we have that set already, so timeline, we need to restore the timeline, right? So because if I go cool timelines user right? And then we wanna so then I'm gonna set that back, so timelines user ID current timelines. That's not the fastest thing to do, but whatever. So I'm operating per request user log user. Not sure if this can be done faster. I'm probably doing it incredibly stupidly, uselessly bad. And it's already taken me 20 minutes. Oh my god, bro. Okay. So set vector int current timeline timelines user ID. Right, and now while I can just do this and I don't have to copy it back. So while, let's call it TL, right? While not TL empty vector int result, and while it is less than 10 and TL what, not TL empty it plus plus. Here we return result, and then so just pick the vector is equal to TL back R begin, and then do this. Okay, and then TL erase iterator, and then vector is this, and then here is what we are gonna do. So don't care about the time, we have the index, right? So result push back tweets by vector 2, and we take vector 1 in there, right? And then we want to do, good question, so first, and then if vector 1 over 0, so we can go lower the index, then we want to do like TL insert, and this is tweets of user, it should be like user, let's say vector 2, who cares. Tweet vector 2, vector 1 minus 1, calls is second, then vector 1 minus 1, and then vector 2, whatever should work. Now for following, well, if I follow a person, then his most recent tweet should go into my timeline. What the hell? Okay, that's just plain stupid. If followees of follower ID count followee ID return, right? Otherwise, okay. So that's inserted, and then we also want to insert that into timeline of followee is who we are following, or started to follow if followees. No, wait, so followees of, okay, so okay, and then into what timeline of follower ID I insert this guy's last tweet, right? So if not tweets of followee ID empty, then here is what we do. Timelines of follower ID insert. Great. Followee ID back, right? And this is tweet 1, tweet 0, and then what's that index? What? 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 So who posted that? Okay. That should work. And how does unfollowing work? If not okay, and now you know what, I'm just gonna copy this because I'm getting sick of typing LLEE. So here there will just be erase, and then this is the back tweet, and then we just erase that tweet, and then hopefully this will work. Of course, no. What the oh my god, bro. This will be a problem. Okay, blah 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 blah. Let's call it like I. Why not? Okay. You kidding? Cannot erase R begin. That's crazy. That's crazy work, bro. Oh my god, bruh. Okay, I mean, that's tough, my brother. So user 1 posts a new tweet. Okay, so nothing happens here. Okay, and then you ask for or by the user themselves. You kidding? You kidding? Okay, okay. segfault. Oh my days, who would have guessed? Haha. Ooh, that's tough. So user 1 posts 5. Wait, what's the calls? 1 follows user 2 and then 2 posts this. Okay. Well, that's your timeline then, I guess. Oh, phew, that sucks. And then that guy tweeted. So first he followed, then he tweeted. User ID to followee. It's weird. I mean, there should be post tweet here. What? Let's see. You kidding? So 1 follows 2. This should just be like this. Okay. This should be like followers. So I rewrote these two. Okay, so followee, follower, followee, follower, and then if that guy doesn't have them, followers. Follow, not here, follow. Followers, follower, followee, follower. Ooh. Okay, I mean unfollow didn't quite work. Okay, I mean this worked. So unfollow, right? So you go through, so what one unfollows two, right? So if two has one, doesn't have it, doesn't matter. So from two you erase one, and if two has any tweets, right? This is like erasing. Okay, so it is erasing for something, I don't know for what. Terrible to type tweet, follow OD, follower. Okay, so that's tweet of ID 6 by @calls1, right? So apparently that guy doesn't have it. Oh, I know what's the problem, because tweet first is not what you insert. Don't insert ID of the tweet. What? You insert the... What the hell? No. Insert size -1. Tweet size -1. Int tweets by let's see. Oh, no way! I thought that they wouldn't come. Interesting. Ain't no way. It passes. Beats nobody, but I'm somewhere in between. Oh, okay. So I'm doing something stupidly slow, or I don't even know. I mean, could do this. Follows, and that's it, right? And then we just go. If not, follows. So user ID follows follower. Let's just continue. Why not? Fair enough. And then if then return that's that, I guess. And then here oh, phew, that kind of sucks. Okay, I'm not gonna press it too much, but let's see some. Master the design of a scalable Twitter feed with heap and hash map magic. What is that? That's weird. Minus timestamp and tweet ID. Okay. Okay, I mean, he's just doing it in a different way, I guess. I mean, that's easier way to do it, but whatever. Okay, who cares? Let's go. Okay, so hash map plus max heap. Let's just call it that, right? So we will directly compute the latest tweets by each user for each of its followers. Approach. Each person has such timeline, and we also where we store triplets of. Okay, so timestamp, there is a tweet index and then user, okay, tweety ID, where tweety ID is the ID of the user posting the tweet, and tweet index is the index of that tweet among the tweets of tweety. In each user's timeline, there is one such triplet for each followee of the user. Next, we store a list of tweets by each person, by each user, more precisely pairs of tweet ID, and then second one is timestamp, so we can find elements in the timeline, which is a set of vectors. Okay. Finally, for each person we maintain a list of its set of its followers, which we initialize as user ID. That's like followers. For all users. When a new tweet comes in, we first update timelines of each follower of the tweetee by erasing the old entry if there was any, and inserting a new one. And finally, save the tweet into the user's tweets. When we want to display users' timeline, we first copy it so that we do not modify the actual one. Now in the copy, until it's not empty and we have not collected 10 tweets, we take the last element, save the tweet ID, okay, tweet ID from tweets of the tweetee, we have the index of the relative tweet in tweetee's tweets, and save it to the list of most recent tweets. Okay, and if the tweetee has any least recent tweet, we put it into the timeline instead of the more recent one, and repeat. Finally, okay, when a person follows another person, we first insert it into the followers list. The followee follower ID followers for what? When a person follows another person, we first insert the followee into. Then, if the followee has some tweet, we insert his last tweet or most recent tweet into the timeline of the follower. Similarly, and finally, if when a person unfollows another person, we first erase the followee from follower ID. Then if the followee has some tweet, we have to erase the most recent tweet from the timeline of the follower. Oh my god, what a shit. Okay, so that's like, that's gonna be tough. So let's see. Post tweet, it's like O of u log u, where u is the number of users, since we have to iterate over at most followers of a user, at most u followers of the poster. Update their timelines in log u. Right, then get news feed. This is like, I mean, technically it's u plus, so I'm actually the same complexity. That's disgusting, bro. Could be made better, could be, but I'm not reverting the changes. Hell no. Plus since we have to copy the timeline to avoid modifying it, and then do 10 updates of it. Note that by some painful note that we could do this in log U by painfully storing and then reversing the updates timeline. Okay, follow takes just log U, and since we first check if they already follow, if the relationship already exists, and if it does not, we create it and update a single timeline. Unfollow log U, since we also first check if the relationship if the relationship does not exist, and if it does, we destroy it and update a single timeline. So our space complexity is like U because of the timelines, U plus tweets because of the tweets, and here this is like what U squared worst case, because you know could be like 500 times 500 calls, that's like 10 to 4 times 25, so U plus T plus U squared, since we store it's actually U squared, right? So at most U users in each user's timeline, and by extension there can also be at most U followers of each of the U users. Finally, we also have to store all the tweets. Technically you don't, you just have to store last 10. Note that we could technically store only the last 10 tweets of each person. To achieve a space complexity of U squared plus U, which is equal to O U squared, but that's even more painful than the get news feed optimization. So no thanks. Oh my god, bro. Okay, goodbye.